If it's been like a really long, terrible day, I'm like, I want to resign from being mayor, And then other days, I'm like, yeah, like I just really want to make a change and make an impact on the world.
Welcome to Created Creative. I'm Dawn.
And I'm Ruth. So today was Jesse's last day of high school. That was kind of a big deal. So I made a roast in the crock pot.
I love that.
Yeah.
That roast beast.
Roast feast in the crock pot.
Nice.
Yeah.
How do you feel about it being his last day?
I feel okay. Last year was harder for some reason, probably because my first one graduating. And also since Jesse's decided he's going to do community college and he'll still be in the area, that makes it a lot easier.
Right.
Yeah. So that's good. Otherwise, I don't have any other news at the moment. I'm going to go get a manicure. I decided I needed that.
Yesterday we went to the sandbox for the first time this season. So kids in New York play together more than I've experienced when I've been in the Midwest. And these people, not only were all playing together, and a couple children did not speak English, and everybody still jockeyed the toy. There were bubbles, and there were only so many shovels, and all the things. But people just cooperated, and the weather was perfect. It was great.
That sounds awesome. Dawn, I heard that you're taking some new clients right now.
I am. It's a funny juxtaposition. A couple people they sign up for 6 months, and it ends when it ends. And more people, though, I helped them get funding for a sabbatical. And so now I'm losing all these people over the summer.
They're going on their sabbaticals that you helped them get.
Yes. So there's room for more. And also next fall, I'm ready in my toddler's life to have a few more people. I'll have a little less over the summer because I won't have my sabbatical people. But then, yes, I'm taking new clients. So the coaching, well, you hear it on many episodes. But I think when it's one-on-one, it gets a little more personal, not therapy, but we're talking about people you're leading, uncovering people issues, talking about things that have been stuck for a long time. And I'm offering other paths out of it, whether it's solving something at the organization where you're at or figuring out a whole new job or calling. So summer's a great time for it. I tend to think of very fun and playful steps. Someone was commenting on that the other day, and so I'm going to own that. It's a playful discernment process more than most things. It is not borderline spiritual direction.
Right.
It's not quiet and contemplative. A lot of people also have spiritual directors. This is the fun, creative, think of as many options as possible and a safe way to try out something that sounds scary.
Yes. I liked how you described it that way because I think that's really true. You keep it fun and lighthearted. Yeah, it's like, wow, this can actually be a fun process.
I had 2 people this week whose congregations are going through heavy things, and we've still found little pockets of things to laugh about.
Good.
Not about the subject matter, of course, but just our process in it and the ways we have to have a little bit of humor about our lives.
Yes. That makes life so much better when we can laugh about things, I think.
Yeah.
So sign up for Dawn's coaching. You won't regret it.
And when is the next subscription box coming?
The next box will come out in June.
Why will people love it? I know it's a secret what's in there, but why will people love it?
They will love it. I particularly love this coming box because it's going to coordinate very well with an upcoming episode of our
Oh, that is so good.
When our worlds collide a little bit.
So everyone listening really needs to subscribe.
Yes, I can take a few subscribers at this point, and I'd be glad to have people join in.
We're both limited offers, so get on it.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else?
I have to say how much I enjoyed our creative container.
Yes.
It was really cool to see, even though there were a couple people who didn't know what they wanted to work on when they came, everybody still had stuff that they could find to work and found value in it. And it was just fun to see all those faces together too. And some of them had met each other before. A lot of them hadn't met each other before.
Right.
So
I was thinking about Priya Parker, The Art of Gathering.
Yeah.
That we really curated a group that we knew enough of the people that we could set the vibe and that everyone knew the point. So the gathering has a purpose in people's lives, and we thought they would mix well.
Yes, and they did. It's really neat.
And if you're listening and you would mix well with super cool, creative people, you do not need to be super creative.
No.
You can just mix well with them.
Yes. And I also loved that it was this intentional time because when we did the thing where we turned off our microphones and we all worked on our stuff, there were a few times that I thought about things that I need to be getting done, but I'm like, but that's not time for this. Now it's my writing thing.
It keeps you so much more focused, and it's bizarro because it is on Zoom and you could walk away, but you're like, oh, I'm in a meeting.
And it wasn't super long, but it wasn't super short either. So there were a lot of things that I really valued about it.
And people did such a variety. Like you and Paul co-writing a book, just casual.
Yes.
And actually making some physical things.
Yeah.
And I made a chat book.
Yeah.
A photo book.
I love that Diane planned out her garden.
I was hoping she would bring Zoom outside. When
Yeah.
she first said it, I thought, are you going to be in the dirt?
She made a little map of where things were going to go.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
So we have a very wide definition of creativity. You do not need to come there and sculpt.
Yeah.
So we're doing this once a month for our Patreon members.
We'd love to have you join, and just such a small commitment, but it's a great way to participate in this community and help our community grow. And who knows what special guests we're going to have next month.
I know.
Yeah.
You'll never know.
Never know until you get there.
What if all of a sudden you're like, ooh, I wanted to meet Ruth's nephew.
Yes, I really was hoping to meet Ruth's nephew.
Ruth's nephew, the guest today.
Yes, my dear nephew is our guest today, and I've always been very impressed with him, with the many things he does. And Dawn, one thing I just love about our podcast is, like we talked about, that wide net of creativity.
Yes, this is wide.
Yeah.
This is city government wide.
Yes, and yet it does take so much creativity to think about how to help these little small towns grow. And anyway, his name is Latham. He's the mayor of New York Mills, Minnesota, and enjoy this episode.
Enjoy the episode. Hi, nice to meet you.
Hi, nice to meet you as well. Glad to be here.
What do people call you as mayor? Do people say, hello, Mayor Hetland?
Usually they call me Latham or say, hey, what are you doing? Why are you not doing what I want you to be doing?
Because they voted, yeah.
I'm at the beck and call of democracy. I've been called Mayor Hetland by like 2 people, and they're both on the council. So
like when they're having official business.
Yeah. Sometimes when we're walking by each other. Yeah, so it's something.
Yeah. Latham, would you mind introducing yourself to our listeners?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So my name's Latham Hetland. I live in New York Mills, Minnesota, nice rural Lakes Country area. I am currently the mayor of the city of New York Mills. I work at the bank here in our community.
And for those who are not on the YouTube part, are you a 70-year-old white man who is the mayor?
No, white man, definitely
Okay, yeah.
got that checked out. I am 29 years old.
That's so fun.
I was just listening to an interview with Pete Buttigieg that he was 29 when he was mayor of Indianapolis, was it?
Yeah, quite a bit bigger city.
It counts.
Different things.
It's still
Yeah,
mayor.
it counts. Right.
It's totally the same in my eyes.
No differences whatsoever.
Right.
Latham also happens to be my nephew.
Woo!
He's my youngest nephew.
So were you at, I think you were mentioned just 2 episodes ago.
Yes, did you know that?
The gender reveal episode was that? Yeah.
And then I've since learned, because my sister-in-law informed me, that Latham is a Norwegian name.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yes. For 29 years, I've thought it was an English name, but Latham, tell our listeners what it means.
I'm not 100% sure, but doesn't it mean something about a red barn or
Yeah, she said barn. It means barn.
Great.
Yeah.
an interesting thing to be named after?
A barn.
Yeah, it's sturdy and consistent.
Exactly what you want out of a mayor.
I guess.
Yes. And you can seek shelter there.
I should have campaigned on that.
There's
Really.
a community aspect. They used to do barn raisings.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So-
Right.
Yeah.
You could make it whatever you want at that point.
Right.
And so, Latham, I wanted you to be on our podcast because you have been involved with different ventures in your town, and there aren't a lot of young men who are interested in pursuing local politics and helping to run the affairs of their town. What do you think that a town like New York Mills has to offer that larger towns don't? Why do you love New York Mills?
That is a big question, and it's a great question. In my role now, being able to look back a little bit from when I initially moved back to New York Mills, I'm able to see it from such a different perspective. All the growth that we're working on, just the sense of community, the sense of belonging between everyone. Like when something bad happens, people step up right away, and they're always willing to help each other out, which is so important. Businesses help each other out. Organizations are always working with each other. People really do care about each other, which can be perceived as people being nosy at the same time, but there's a balance in there. I think the biggest thing that got me most interested at the start was just how you can say that you want to do something and then you can just do it. There's not like a million blockades that you have to go over, not a bunch of hoops to run through. You can just be like, yeah, I have this idea for an event. And they're like, yeah, go ahead, do it. That's great. So that's what kind of got me most interested in continuing to be here, I'd say.
Who's the rival? Would you have a fundraising face-off with a nearby town?
So the towns that are closest to us would be Wadena and Perham, and they're both about 4-ish times as large as us.
Oh.
So it's a different environment in those towns.
What is the population?
Right now, I think we're at about 12 99.
Okay.
We just built a 60-unit apartment complex on the south end of town. So we'll probably be close to 1,500 soon. When I moved back, there was a lot of animosity between the communities. And I think we've gone a long ways into redirecting that into camaraderie and working together and making it a little bit more cohesive. So instead of a rivalry, it's like there's that event in Perham this weekend, but we're also having an event here. Let's get a bus that's going to go from Perham to New York Mills. And then Wadeena's having this next weekend. So let's work with them, which is way better than just being like, yeah, you can't go to that.
How are you the same or different than Parks and Rec?
Yeah, pretty similar overall.
They have a town they don't want anyone going to.
To be honest, Parks and Rec is still on my show that I need to watch list.
You don't need to comment on a show you haven't
It's
seen.
incredibly embarrassing though, because I really want to watch it.
I've never watched it either, and I want to. We should both watch it and then talk about it later.
We could have an episode about Parks and Rec.
Yeah, we'll come back and do another episode about Parks and Rec.
Well, there could be Andy Griffith. I'm just thinking of super small town government.
Oh, yeah.
There doesn't need to. You could be the movie.
There's probably not a lot of that depicted in media.
There should be.
You said you moved back, so that implies you've been other places.
Yeah, so I went out of high school. I was like, I want to get away. I have no interest in being involved in New York Mills. That sounds terrible. Also said I would never work at a bank. Pretty much just saying I would never do any of these things. Then I went to college for English and Spanish education. Did that for a semester. Then I was like, this isn't actually what I wanted to do. And then I started trying to buy a grocery store in our town because that sounded fun. And then I transferred to Morehead State University and went to business school. And then there was a summer class and I was at home at my parents' house and it was business communication. You were supposed to fill out a resume and a cover letter for a job. And I looked at the hometown newspaper and there was a job at the bank. And I was like, sure, that's good enough. I typed a resume, cover letter, did an interview, and they were like, you didn't get the job. And I'm like, that's perfectly fine. I still didn't really want to work at a bank. Yeah. Then they called me back 3 months later and they were like, hey, why didn't you apply for this job? And I was like, I didn't know there was a job. And they were like, you should do this job. That's kind of why we didn't hire you for that one. I'm like, maybe, I don't know. And they were like, do you want the job? And I was like, can I think? And then there's like a weird pause. And during that pause, I realized that day I'd watched a whole season of the show House.
Oh, yeah.
In one day. It's like, ooh, yeah, we should probably change some things up.
But do something else with your time.
They're like, you come Monday. And I was like, yeah, I'll be there.
Excellent. And so you're a banker and you're a mayor. How long ago has it been now since you opened the Continental Divide?
That opened in February of 2024.
2024. And so talk a little bit about how that came to be and what the Continental Divide is.
Yeah, absolutely. The idea started, I think, in 2021 of having some kind of restaurant that was a little different, a little more modern and has some different offerings. It came about because one night, a buddy of mine, we were sitting at the kitchen table and having a couple beverages and we were like, this would be the best thing ever. And I was like, yeah. And the next morning I was like, this is still great. I really want to do this. So I call him like, hey, I got a business plan drawn up. I'm working on a pro forma. And he was like, I was not in the right mindset for that. Like, yeah. And I'm like, okay. So then really in 2022, we started really looking at ideas for buildings and making it more of a legitimate thing. And then we ended up buying a really cool old building in 2023 and pretty much remodeled the whole thing, tore it all apart and built this whole fantastic restaurant that exists now.
And you had to recruit different people to help you, right? You fundraised basically, or your investors.
Pretty much how it started. There was a small group of us. I think it was like 5 investors at that point. And we were doing the due diligence. We were like finding the right place, doing the design plans and things like that. And then when we got everything together, I looked at the numbers and I was like, I don't think I made that kind of transition to what I pitched it as to everybody was it's a community investment. Like we're trying to grow our community. I'm not saying that there's going to be a large rate of return on this, but what you're doing by helping start this business is like you are growing our community. And that worked really well. And I think that was really important. And I think it's still working well because when you go in there now, there's people who are investors in there every day because they believe in it, right? They're invested in it, obviously financially, but personally, emotionally, it's such a big thing for everybody in the community. And it was a really unique way to do it, in my opinion. And it had a lot of challenges, but it worked out really well.
What were a couple of the biggest challenges that you faced in starting that business?
One early example, there's one wall. It's a nice green wall. And we spent a meeting of the investors, like 3 hours talking about the color of that wall. And I'm like, we have so many things that we need to be talking about before we need to talk about how much money we're making, how much money we're spending, like, and then like the color of that wall. And I was like, okay, so we're going to start delegating things much better than we are. So I was like, our interior designer was like, you figure that out because you like do this for a living. We don't know what that is. And then the number of voices is having 25, 30 different people in a room, all having different opinions is great. But what we ended up doing was creating a board structure in a nonprofit organization, which really ended up working super well because they would voice their concerns to the board and the board would work with the general manager to make decisions based off that instead of just having everybody yell at the general manager and get into that awkward territory.
To me, it sounds like a huge undertaking, but it is. It's a beautiful space and it's always busy every time I've been in there. And is it all Minnesota beers?
Mostly. We have a little bit of Iowa now.
Okay.
Minnesota.
Okay. Yeah. And the menu's growing. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's the start of hopefully a lot more things growing in downtown. We've had a couple new businesses start since we've opened that, which is a really positive trend.
Yeah.
And we're just focusing on what we can do to continue that. And we want our downtown to be as busy as possible all the time.
So what can a mayor even do? Small towns are different. The mayor has an influence. What can the mayor do to make a vibrant downtown?
Myself as mayor, I have very little power to do much of anything. It's a combination of working with the city, working with organizations and businesses to see what we can do and find people that want to do stuff as well. Because that investment group that we have, there's people of it that have started other things since then with smaller segments of it. And we would gladly start another restaurant, go through that work. If somebody was really excited about a project, we could find the finances to make that a reality. It's just finding people who are like, yes, I believe in the store that I want to start or this new idea. And we could totally help with that. And that's where the city can come in too in terms of grant funding and loans. But it's just, you need the people who believe in themselves enough to want to take that risk.
Yeah. So I want to ask in terms of your mayor position, what's been one or two of the most challenging things?
Yeah. So I've been on the city council since 2016. So I was like 20 or whatever.
You can't be going into a bar, but you're on the city council.
And the city owns a municipal liquor store. I was like, but
choose how it goes.
yeah, but tell me what happens in there.
Yeah.
Over the years, I'd say the biggest challenges in terms of a really small city is that there's not a whole lot of funding available. We get some money, local government aid from the state, and we can do bonds and things like that. But our tax base is relatively limited. The ideas that we have for growth outpace the funding that we have to be able to do that. So I get really excited about things, and it's important to temper the expectations because we are still a government entity and I can't realistically double the taxes of our community to fund this cool thing that I think might work. So a lot of realism is important. And then just working with the different departments, staffing is always a challenge. And we're fortunate to have a lot of really good people in the right places right now, but it wasn't always like that. And it's been kind of cleaning things up and moving things forward.
So when you were 20 and you first went on city council, how did that evolve? Did someone on the council ask you, or how did that happen?
Yeah, when I started at the bank, I knew the bank for reputation in high school that they're really involved in the community. And then I started here and I started working with these incredible mentors that I had who had been super involved in local and regional government stuff for a long time. And I just saw that and I was like, the history that they had, the knowledge, when I asked questions about the city, and I just wanted to get to know so much more. So I started going to the council meetings because apparently that's what is fun as a 19-year-old Latham Hetland. And then I was watching the meetings and I'm like, oh, this is what we're talking about. And then I started building enough an opinion to disagree on some things. And I was like, oh, and then I was like, I should do this. And then I did it. Once you get onto a small city council, you're committed until you can find somebody else to take it over. So that was quite an experience. Yeah, it was a lot of learning at the start. And I just got really excited and really interested in the opportunities for our city. The biggest project right now that we're working on is not exciting at all. We need a new water treatment facility. It's $10 million. Ooh. But in terms of something that's actually fun that we're talking about, a lot of communities, small communities, have taken this platform of having retail and shopping spaces on the lower level of a building and then having apartments on the upstairs. And that's something we're really looking at because we have some dilapidated buildings we could restructure or tear down into something like that.
Yeah.
Just a whole center. The benefit to having the housing on top is that there's a lot more grant opportunities available for housing. So that's why I think that works. But then with that too, I don't really want to own that building because that's a real big investment. So it's finding the right people to make that happen. So we're kind of on a standby with that.
Yeah. You're always doing so many interesting things. And he also owns Airbnb.
All of Airbnb.
Yeah. I have 3 shares in the stock.
Oh, but you own Airbnb, 3 shares.
We started an Airbnb in town last year. Summers are fantastic. I think we had 1 booking from December to March. But other than that, it's a good thing. And then we have, what's fun about that is it's some of us who are investors in the brew pub as well. So we have these wood grain coupons and we're like, go bring that there and you get a free drink or whatever.
Yeah, I love that.
So it's like enjoying the lake, and then it's hunters, or who is coming?
Honestly, there's a lot of people that are coming for work and staying for a month, which is the best possible customer you can ask for.
Like they're remote work, or they're doing
No,
business with?
they're like, it's like construction people.
Oh, great.
We've had a lot of railroad people, and it's like they're working the whole time.
Yeah, they're not
hardly
there.
ever there. And the house is spotless.
No cleaning fee.
Right.
Yeah. So with all of these things, one thing we do talk about on this podcast quite a bit for people that are entrepreneurs and into different creative projects is, how do you make balance in your life to take care of all these different things?
So that is a great question. Something I've been working on a lot. I was really bad at it for a really long time. Right after I moved back, I just wanted to get involved in everything. And then I realized that's not a solution. And that doesn't make you effective at all the things you're doing. It means that you're just getting by with all of those. And I didn't feel that was fair to me or the organization. So what I do now is the organizations that I'm involved in, still in a board capacity or anything like that. The nice thing about it is that there's a lot of synergy going on. So I can make decisions or help with decisions on one board, and it's going to relate to what's happening on the other board or throughout the city. So it honestly makes it a little bit easier than just going in without any concept of what other organizations in the community are doing. Is nice. Still doesn't get away from the fact that I'm in meetings every night till 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night. And so I just really commit to a routine, especially during the week. I make sure that I'm working out, making sure that I have food, or that I go to my parents' house and their food. It's always great. So I make sure that I'm doing that. And then nighttime, you just make sure that you're having the same routine still, and being able to unwind, especially when things are pretty stressful in any organization, is something that I think I've really improved on in the last couple of years. I think it's just because I've been through so many different things. I don't know if there's like a perfect answer on how to not take things so personally and take it home with you, but it's not worth it to keep yourself so high strung the whole time, because then you're just not being a good friend, you're not being a good family member, and you just need to acknowledge that like you're doing things and trying to help everybody and make things better, but you're also just a person who's living their life and trying to get through it. And that was kind of a big learning stage for me.
Do you have people in your life who advised you on that, or did you just learn that over time?
So there's a lot of people in my life who I view as mentors in a lot of different ways. I have roommates for a while, and I come home after a really long city council meeting, and we were in our early 20s, right? And just like normal people wanted to watch football or something. And they were like, Latham, what's going on? And I'm like, the taxes, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, I don't really care about that. And I'm like, you know what? That's a good point. Let's not talk that then.
Sure. Yeah. I have so many things I could ask you, but who are some of your favorite creators? And that can be musically. I know that you love music, or it could be authors, whatever.
That is a good question. So the greatest musician of all time is Dermot Kennedy. I don't know if there is a second, but he's definitely number one. He's doing a small intimate venue tour in the United States this year. So I got on the pre-sale for it. So I think I'm going to get it.
Pre-sale.
Yeah, because like if you like sign up for enough email lists, you get on the special one. And I'm like, this is good. So yeah, he's really important to me, and just everything about him is great.
Are you going to see him then? Is that someone else you're going to see in June?
At Red Rocks?
Yeah.
That's Weird Al Yankovic.
Oh, that's Weird Al.
Nearly the same.
Last year we saw him or 2 years ago at Red Rocks.
Oh, okay.
Which was the most incredible experience of my entire life.
But Dermot Kennedy, Weird Al Yankovic, and who's the third?
Yeah, apparently that's my 1 and 2.
That you'll travel to Red Rocks for. I mean,
yeah, I would travel anywhere for. The Weird Al thing is very confusing. Ruth's brother has ideas, and we like to follow those sometimes.
Yeah. I know that Latham loves music because for a long time he had a very successful DJ business going around to different, lots of weddings and lots of supper clubs and
supper club.
Supper club. We were joking about that name because nobody really calls it that anymore. Anyway, so you sold that business not long ago, right?
End of last year.
Yeah.
So I had that for 9 years of my life. And it was probably the most influential thing in terms of my personal confidence growth, because you put yourself out there in front of people, and like when they're all listening to you, when you have to talk. I never was scared of public speaking, but when you put you on the spot like that and people are paying you money to be there, you really have to not screw it up. Like it's real. It's like a wedding. It's important to those people.
It's their one day.
And you can't say their names wrong.
Did you DJ the gender reveal party?
There was a serious lack of music at the gender reveal party.
Was there? It's just the music of your heart.
Yeah.
But it was pretty cool that the weddings of both of his brothers, I got to preside at both of them, and then Latham was the DJ at both of them. So I know.
I like when that happens, where it's the people that have big voices in a event like a wedding all truly know the people getting married. It feels very different.
Yeah. Let's see. So like for your ideas that you come up with, whether it's for your businesses or other creative projects, do you find that certain places or times of day it's better for you creatively?
Mornings, usually like between 7 and 8 o'clock in the morning is usually my best time to think critically and kind of imaginatively. And there's nothing bothering me yet. There's no distractions from the day. The best time for creativity though is 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yes.
So what I do is I sleep. I wake up at 3 and then the world makes so much more sense. And then I rattle off this list of like 16 things. I type it in my phone. And then in the morning, I'm like, there's like a couple here that actually make sense. And then I'm like, let's go with that.
The other 14,
But
whatever.
you keep them because maybe someday they'll be practical. But yeah.
Long ago before electricity, everyone got up in the middle of the night and then they'd have a second sleep. So you're being
that's right.
English, even though your name turns out to be not English.
It just felt right at the time. Obviously.
Yeah.
Everybody slept twice.
I remember when I first heard that, it just made my sleeping patterns make a lot more sense. This time I'm awake during the night.
I used to live with this old lady from my church, and I would go to bed so late and then get up and work at the church, and then I'd come back and she'd be like, oh, is it time for your second sleep? When it's actually Sunday afternoon.
Yeah. Latham, what's been one of your best creative experiences so far?
I think it depends on how you define creativity, I would say. But I think that the most significant thing I did in terms of that was creating our strategic framework for our community because we hadn't had one before. And so being able to pull things from so many different parts of the community, gathering people together, building these connections, and then like developing an actual plan might not be creative in the traditional sense, but it was creative for what we needed to do. And it really helped us. I mean, we started that in 2017 and we created this organization, quasi-organization from that with all of these big giant goals for our community. And since then, we've accomplished every single one of them. So, I mean, in terms of accomplishments, that's probably the coolest thing that it just is such a meaningful thing to be able to say what you've done.
Yes.
That is very cool. Awesome.
Initially, I was going to say my master's thesis, but I was like, that was about banking and it wasn't creative in any way, shape, or
We want
form.
bankers to like just have rules and maybe not as much creativity.
Yeah. Before we move on, I want to ask you, you've done so much already in your life, and I'm curious, are there big goals that you have, like thinking about future for Latham, like Pete Buttigieg?
He's like the bar now, and Pete Buttigieg is quite.
When did he initially, what happened after mayor? How long was he mayor for?
He started running for president when he was still mayor, wasn't he?
Oh, and then he was a secretary of
when
transportation.
Yeah,
because they called him Mayor Pete when he was running.
Right, that's right. That's
he
right.
had no other things.
Yeah, so
Run for
probably
president.
that.
We just had someone from Minnesota.
Yeah.
I mean, now people are aware of the
Right,
good people
yeah.
in Minnesota.
So maybe not that quite yet. I feel like I probably should learn a couple more things.
I think you have to be 35.
Constitution, schmonstitution.
We'll see.
Yeah. I mean, I've always been interested in politics since I was a kid. I think it's fascinating. I think it's incredibly stressful and frustrating and not very rewarding. But
I love
think
it.
that people need to do it. And, the world needs good people working on stuff. So, I've considered running for county commissioner. That's something that I have been tossing around the last couple of months. Eventually, maybe going for something larger, but it depends on the day. Because some days, like if it's been like a really long, terrible day, I'm like, I want to resign from being mayor, And then other days, I'm like, yeah, like I just really want to make a change and make an impact on the world. And I don't know, we're kind of waiting to see. But
yeah. That makes sense. And so I wanted to ask you, Pete Buttigieg was talking about on this interview, he was talking about like his first day in office as mayor. A couple came to him and the lady was really, really pregnant and wanted to be married before the baby was born, and the baby was on the way. And so they had come to the office to ask the mayor to marry them.
On the way to the hospital.
On the way to the hospital, yeah. And so he did. That was like one of the first things he did as mayor.
Oh my gosh.
Have you done that yet?
So I'm uncertain if it's legal in Minnesota for me to be able to do that. I don't think it is.
You don't want to break a law.
Because somebody asked me and I was like, I'm pretty sure that's not a thing here, but it may be cool. Yeah.
So Latham, how much of creativity do you think is discipline and how much is inspiration?
I think that the initial concept of creativity is definitely based off inspiration. And then the follow through to get any sort of the project, whatever you're talking about is 100% dedication. Hopefully you're dedicated to something that inspires you, in which case I think that they do blend a lot together. It just really depends specifically on what it is that you're focusing on. But I think they're very intertwined in my opinion.
Yeah, because you needed the inspiration of sitting at the table with your friend that night. but then you needed the discipline of actually following through and contacting people to help
Right.
make the bar restaurant happen. And how about this? How does your creativity and spirituality connect?
So I think in order to be able to be creative, you need to feel good about yourself, and you need to make sure that your heart and your head are in a good situation, because otherwise you have to focus on the things that make sure, the basic needs of life first. And once you can accomplish those, then you start focusing on your overall mental well-being and your belief in yourself. And once you have the confidence in yourself, I think that it's a lot easier to move forward. And to do that, I mean, you need to feel good about life and the world and things in it. And then you can start moving forward with, thinking creatively about moving forward.
Yeah. To be able to feel strong in yourself and to move forward from there. So I'm just so glad that you could spend some time with us today talking about your many ventures thus far in your 29, almost 30 years.
Whoa. We have a month and a half until I'm 30, clinging on to the 20s.
Are you going to be 29 for 6 years until you're going to run for president? Okay.
Yes. And then I'll be 35, and then I'll file the documents. Yep.
They'll be
There we
like,
go.
what? I
Yeah.
thought you were 29. You're like, nope.
Yeah, it just gets better. I thought the 30s were pretty fun, so I think you'll have a ball.
I hope so. There's lots to look forward to.
Yes, so much.
You're our highest ranking official we've had.
It's very true. Yes, our highest.
Yeah.
official.
Really?
Uh-huh.
I'm absolutely honored
Thank
and
you for
privileged.
giving us your time.
Really. I had to get it past my PR staff, but,
Very proud of you, my dear nephew, Mayor Hetland, and thank you for sharing your time with us today.
absolutely. Thank you very much. I
you.
appreciate it.
Thanks for joining us for Creative.
We're so glad that you could be with us, and please remember to follow us on Facebook, and remember our Patreon. We'd love to have you as a patron.
Subscribe to Ruth's books and check out my coaching, all the things. We want you in all the areas.
Hey,
Go create something.
go create something.